Alrighty everyone, happy Memorial Day weekend so far. I hope you're all having an amazing time, and we all know that there's a lot of things going on, not just with Disney and Lucasfilm, but also with creators out there like Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Tony Gilroy, and yes, even George Lucas himself, and that is the main subject for today. Now, we know that there's a lot of things going on when it comes to how the overall Star Wars franchise is going to literally transform, moving, of course, ahead. We know that Timothy Zahn is going to be a very heavy advisor for everything that Dave and John are creating onwards. And we also know that George Lucas is getting a great opportunity here, being handed down by the Disney executives and Bob Iger, the CEO. So let's get right into it. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support, and let's discuss. Now, what's really interesting about what Bob Iger is currently up to and exactly how he does have a fleshed out plan to essentially have George Lucas taking over Lucasfilm. And we talked about this lightly a couple of weeks ago, on and off, so we are going to be diving into some new developments that have been brewing behind closed doors, and exactly what it really all means, and how it pertains to George Lucas specifically. Now, as you all know, George is currently working hand in hand with John and Dave on everything that is in production from 2023 onwards. Alright, so you got Mando Season 4, Ahsoka Season 1 and 2, Project Bluepoint, as well as Jedi Knight, which by the way is going to focus on Luke and his new Jedi Order. It's not necessarily a Luke series per se, but it is going to focus on his new Jedi Academy. Now, moving to the next thing here, alright? Right now, Lucasfilm is going under a very big change by Disney CEO Bob Iger and the creatives joining in to change the atmosphere of the working environment. However, one big shift that Disney is pushing is how they are developing a way for George Lucas to take over Lucasfilm in a powerful scenario for the fans. Now, it's noted that Disney's way of doing this is by making Lucas the head of the story group by 2024, however, it doesn't stop there. Even by the end of this year, Disney is giving a big privilege to George Lucas by making the decisions of who will be added to the planned Dream Team to take Star Wars into a better path. Lucas is said to have been responsible for allowing those like Matt Reeves, James Cameron, and others to become a part of this Dream Team, and is even pushing for Christopher Nolan himself to become either a director or a co-writer for one of the upcoming shows and/or movies. Now, with Lucas also taking over other departments at Lucasfilm by 2024, that will also allow Disney to fully clean up house at the company over the course of 2 whole years to completely change how the company handles Star Wars on a creative level. Now, the thing about this that I think fans need to be very well aware of is the fact that I am in full support of Lucas pushing for Christopher Nolan to become a director or a co-writer of many of the upcoming movies and/or TV shows. I don't know about you guys, but Nolan is a visionary. This guy is amazing. I think Matt Reeves is up there too. Given that he is going to be debuting his movie Oppenheimer in the coming weeks, and how he has done a great job with The Dark Knight, Inception, all these big, movies and franchises, really sets things up that really could course correct Star Wars in just one single creator. Now, what's great about Lucas too is that he knows how to run Lucasfilm down to the core. I mean, this is the guy that really created the company. This is a guy that really brought Star Wars into our world and really, in a way, in many ways, actually evolved the film industry. I mean, George Lucas himself evolved the film industry by establishing ILM in various ways, and how Star Wars promoted that company heavily. And so when you look at stuff like this, of how Bob Iger is really making this happen down to the core, of how he does have a concrete plan of making Lucas the head of the story group by next year, give or take around the third quarter of 2024 is their plan right now. But it doesn't end there. They also plan on George taking over other departments. Now, we're not quite sure exactly which departments specifically, but other creative fields over at Lucasfilm. Now, the thing that's so exciting about this further, and this is where it gets even all the more involved, alright, is that on top of this, Lucas is also set to be the one calling the shots on who will be hired to act in many upcoming Star Wars projects. John and Dave are going to be choosing specific talents to star in movies and shows, while George is going to be the one to approve those decisions or not, much like how Lucas approved or declined many Legends stories over 20 years ago. Lucas is also going to be given the privilege to control the budgeting plans of each project by the beginning of 2024 onwards. Lucas is reportedly very happy to become back in control in many ways thanks to Bob Iger. Now guys, look, I've said this many times, and I know I've said this many times before, but I think Bob Iger is not a great CEO in, the general sense, but at least he's taking action on changing elements of Star Wars, changing who is going to actually be in control of all of this. But I really think he is to blame for what happened with Galaxy's Edge, for what happened with the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel, and stuff like that, and how he really kind of put so much pressure on Bob Chapek to pick up the pieces for that, and how when Bob Iger came back, it really led to, essentially, its failure. I mean, let's face it. So, surprisingly now, Bob Iger is really trying to turn things around for Lucasfilm, and it's going to take 2 whole years to clean up house over at this company. We already know that Jon Favreau had already fired an entire team of Lucasfilm creatives and employees attached to The Mandalorian Season 4 that are now moving over to the Acolyte or also leaving Lucasfilm altogether. And eventually Bob Iger just wants to clean up house entirely. And Lucas is going to be a big part of that. So, what's interesting though to me the most is how Lucas is getting this privilege where he's going to be in a spot where he's going to be the one authorizing or approving specific talents to come on board of these projects, specific creatives to take control of those projects, people like Nolan, Cameron, Reeves, all these great guys coming on board, even Timothy Zahn as a great advisor. So that just goes to show you that this dream team is evolving. More and more talents are coming on board every single month and are still in the talks. And I think at the end of the day, this is really going to set things up for a better and wider future for Star Wars. And as long as you have a great amount of creatives on board that can work hand in hand and they can really discuss things together, that's when you know that you've got the right team. That's when you know you've got the right group to really lead Star Wars in a better path that's really going to evolve it for the better. So, anyways, we all know that John and Dave are dedicated to their work. These guys are true, passionately driven fans and creatives that are hard workers that really work day in and day out, quite literally, and are just trying to turn Star Wars around. So let's give them at least some credit for doing that, regardless of, what fans think of them. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.